Welcome back as the 4RWF continues its march to WrestleMania. Now, the grandest spectacle of them all is a great part of WrestleMania. I mean, the event's named WrestleMania. But one of the fun things that happens during WrestleMania weekend is the Hall of Fame, where wrestlers of old come and get honored and put into a hall to show their greatness and what an amazing career they had. Today, the 4RWF brings you the top 10 wrestlers, talent, WWE people who are currently there that we think are going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Minus a McMahon-Helmsley connection, because they own the company. But let's jump on into it. Number 10, John Cena. Cena, PG era, greatest wrestler there. It pains me to put this guy on this list. He's number 10. No, John Cena should be on this list, blah, blah, blah. There, squash, done, move on. Number 9, Goldust. See, a lot of people nowadays just remember Goldust as the comedic role, the comic relief that comes in, teams with somebody, cracks a few jokes and whatever. But back in the 90s, Goldust was creepy. And I mean that in the best way possible. It was something of an androgynous character that messed with people's minds. When people go mind games, you go The Undertaker, and then back then you also went Goldust. Multi-time Intercontinental Champion, multi-time Tag Team Champion. He really set that bar that, alright, we're going to do gimmicks, but our gimmicks are really going to blur that line between what's real and what's not. It's the character of Goldust as a whole. Yeah, minus the stuff he does nowadays, but when he first started as Goldust, man, he freaked some people out. I'm looking at you, Scott Hall. And that's why, love him or hate him, think he's a joke now, his career puts him in the Hall of Fame. Number 8, Christian! I know this one's going to cause a little divide between my fans, because the main question is, does Christian deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, or is he in the Hall of Fame because of he's Edge's buddy? Now let's look at Christian's career. I mean, he's a multi-time tag team champion. He's won the Intercontinental Champion. He's won the light heavyweight title. He was World Heavyweight Champion. TNA Champion. I mean, you have people who've only won WCW titles that are in the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, Christian's career as a whole is really good. And yeah, when you compare him to Edge, one of the greatest superstars in wrestling history, it pales in comparison. But on his own, Christian deserves to be in this Hall of Fame because he did accomplish it. Yes, people can make the argument that, well, if he wasn't Edge's friend, he wouldn't have all these accomplishments. Same thing can be said about a lot of the people in the clique. Let's be honest. If you weren't friends with Shawn Michaels, you might have never become where you were. So being someone's friend that's been successful really shouldn't hinder you being in the Hall of Fame. Christian's career on his own, the Captain Charisma, the Peeps, the Peep Show, all that, I think pushes him into the Hall of Fame, whether or not he was Edge's tag team partner. There is no Marty Jannetty in this group. Number 7, Devon, put us in the Hall of Fame! The Dudley Boyz are probably one of the most decorated tag teams, if not the most decorated tag team, in all of wrestling history, winning almost every major title except WCW, because I do not count them winning it when they were in the WWF, because that was a WWF show, that wasn't a WCW show. It doesn't count, but we'll slap another title reign on you whether you want to consider WCW or WWE. I don't care. But they have transcended a lot of generations, from the early 90s to the Toothless Aggression, the Attitude Era, and even now trying to help younger talents improve. It's how many times when you're sitting at home and you hear that music, Dudleyville, you mark out. When they're in a ring wrestling, they slap each other, Devon, get the tables, you mark out. I mean, Bubba is a TNA champion. A heavyweight champion. So, alone as a tag team, they deserve to get in here. Separate, you can make an argument that they're on the cusp, but the Dudley Boyz are possibly one of the greatest tag teams ever. Number 6. The Legend Killer, Randy Orton. Now, I know in the intro I've called him the Legend Killer, but he's also known as the Viper, the Apex Predator, the Hunter, Mr. Money in the Bank, and the face of the WWE. I mean, his career has transcended close to a decade now. It's one of those that the Legend Killer's gimmick has been really good, between beating such of the greats as John Cena, Edge, Shawn Michaels, RVD, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, his career, if you look at the people he's beat some great wrestlers and had some great matches. And let's not even begin to talk about the title reigns. Between the WWE title, the Intercontinental title, the tag team titles, the Apex Predator has been at the top of the game for a while. Yes, injuries nowadays have slowed him down. He's getting pretty up there, so he likes to take his days off. But when that music hits, I Hear Voices, possibly one of the greatest wrestling songs of all time. This man, the Apex, the Legend, Mr. Money in the Bank, whatever you want to call him, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And this goes back to the Christian argument. Who cares if he's Triple H's buddy? The talent alone puts him in the Hall of Fame, maybe more so than his father. Number 5. Kane. It's hard to live in someone else's shadow, and that's what Kane has always been. He's been the Undertaker's little brother, and has always constantly lived in the shadow. But whereas we've sat there and said that the Undertaker has had, now 2 decades, going on 3 decades of destruction, Kane has been right there with him. I mean, Kane joined the WWE, 5-6 years later after the Undertaker joined the WWE, and made the Undertaker character even more impressive. So you have this big scary man against this other big scary man, because this big scary man has beaten everybody else, so we need to introduce another big scary man. And when the WWE's done that in the past, the big scary man disappears and the Undertaker's still around. But no, Kane is stuck around. Going on to win tag team titles, Intercontinental titles, ECW titles, heavyweight titles. I mean, Kane's career as a whole, from the Big Red Monster to what he is now, is just maybe an enhancement talent, has been great. And for all those who go, again, Undertaker buddy, who cares? Everyone almost on this list has been somebody's buddy. Just put him in the Hall of Fame, because Kane deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Number 4. The Ayatollah of Rock and Roller, Chris Jericho. How is Chris Jericho not going to be in the Hall of Fame? He is the first ever undisputed champion. He never tells us that, except every time he picks up the mic. But besides that, he's a multi-time heavyweight champion, a 9-time Intercontinental champion, multi-time tag team champion. I mean, there's a title out there, he's won it. And not only is he Ayatollah of Rock and Roller, he is Raw, is Jericho. And every time he goes away and comes back, the crowd loses it. When the countdown begins and you know it's Chris Jericho, who cares if he's heel or face or who he's feuding with? You mark out and you start cheering. Chris Jericho is possibly one of the most talented wrestlers, being compared to Shawn Michaels countless times, the greatest wrestler of all time. So, he has almost the exact same numbers as Shawn Michaels. Chris Jericho is going in the Hall of Fame whenever he decides not to just show up every once in a while. Number 3, Paul Now, we all can sit there and just put Paul Heyman in the Hall of Fame solely based on his ECW work. But even before there was ECW, there was WCW. There was Paul Lee Dangerously. I mean, teaming up with such greats as Brian Pillman, Arn Anderson, Stone Cold. His managery career puts him in the Hall of Fame. But then you have the promoter, Paul Heyman, who was trying to beat the big guys and was succeeding for a while until just, money. And then you got Paul Heyman in the WWE as an announcer, as a general manager, as a head writer. He did everything, and now as the manager, as you can say, of the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Paul's career has spanned from the 80s to now. And whenever he decides that it's time to officially hang up the wrestling boots and just continue doing what he does, I will be glad when he's inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Number 2. Well, it's the Big Show! Yes, I get it. I read Twitter. Big Show needs to retire. Big Show's done. Big Show's over. Who cares? I mean, if I got paid what he did just to walk out there and smile or cry or punch a good guy, punch a bad guy, yeah, I wouldn't retire either. But this is to go in the Hall of Fame. And if you go through his career, his first match, he won the heavyweight title. He was part of the Attitude Era on both sides. He got it. He helped WCW take over WWE, and then he helped WWE take over WCW. He wasn't well liked, but who cares? He is one of the few people not only to win the WCW title, the WWE title, the WWF title, the ECW title. He just needs a TNA title. I mean, if I was Vince, I'd just send him like, hey, go to TNA with the title, come back. But that's besides the point. Big Show has won, has been a part, his gimmick, his fun, his just enjoyment of being a wrestler, even though it didn't start off like that, deserves his chance because as a big man, he shouldn't have been in the wrestling that long, but he has. He has gone from the Attitude Era to now with so many different gimmicks, and some have worked, some haven't, but the titles, the big wins, the WrestleMania, puts this giant, this beast of a man, the world's largest athlete, into this Hall of Fame. And the number one current WWE employee that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? The Undertaker. Was there a shock? I mean, The Undertaker has bled WWE since day one, minus Mean Mark. He's transcended generations, from Hulkamania to transition to WWE Attitude to Toothless Aggression to PG to whatever the heck you want to call it now. He has stayed relevant. It's very hard in the wrestling world to do that. His undefeated streak at WrestleMania, his American Badass, his Undertaker, his countless titles, him being the voice for the boys in the backstage. I could go on and on and on, and we can do an entire episode just on The Undertaker alone, but there's no doubt this guy is going into the Hall of Fame. If he doesn't, it has to be because he did something really, 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 really stupid. And we don't think that's going to happen, so no shock. Undertaker, number one. And I know it's my shortest one. I spend longer times on number ones, but we all know it's going to be The Undertaker. Hall of Fame, 2060 for all we know, because he'll probably still be wrestling WrestleMania all the way to 2059, and sure, why not? I would too. And there you have it. The current WWE employees that are going into the WWE Hall of Fame when they retire, according to us at the 4RWF. Now I hear what you're saying. Whoa, 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 loco! Those are just current. There's countless people that have retired and left the WWE. What about them? Join me next week as we just have one more top 10 for the march to WrestleMania.